Hello and welcome to our quarterly podcast where we discuss activities to support the consistent application of IFRS Accounting Standards, the accounting requirements developed by the International Accounting Standards Board. As our regular listeners know, it's the task of the IFRS Interpretations Committee to respond to application questions from stakeholders. Now, the podcast aims to keep you up to date on the committee's latest discussions on application questions. My name is Bruce Mackenzie, and I'm a member of the ISB and chair of the IFRS Interpretations Committee. Joining me today is André Besson, a member of the IFRS Interpretations Committee. In this episode, we will cover the discussions that took place at the June 2024 committee meeting. Now, at this meeting, the committee finalized one agenda decision relating to IFRS 8 operating segments and published a tentative agenda decision relating to statement of cash flows. The committee also commented on the ISB's proposals in its recently published exposure draft, Business Combinations, Disclosures, Goodwill and Impairment, and provided input on potential issues the board needs to address in its research project on intangible assets, including the scope of the project and the approach to staging the work. Our focus will be on the finalized agenda decision relating to IFRS 8 operating segments. So let me begin the conversation by asking André to give us an overview of the question.
Sure, Bruce. Hello to everyone listening. The question the committee received was about the application of paragraph 23 of IFRS 8. The committee observed that there are two main aspects to the question. 1. How does an entity apply the requirements to disclose, for each reportable segment, specified amounts related to segment profit or loss? And 2. What is the meaning of material items of income and expense disclosed in accordance with paragraph 97 of IS1, which is a phrase used in paragraph 23F of IFRS 8.
And what are the three key takeaways from the committee's discussion?
The first key takeaway is that it's important to pay attention to how the word or is used in the first part of paragraph 23 of IFRS 8. The committee observed that paragraph 23 requires an entity to disclose specified amounts for each reportable segment. Those amounts are included in the measure of segment profit or loss reviewed by the Chief Operating Decision Maker, or CODM, even if they are not separately provided to or reviewed by the CODM, or regularly provided to the CODM, even if they are not included in the measure of segment profit or loss. A second key takeaway is the committee's observations about the meaning of material items of income and expense disclosed in accordance with paragraph 97 of IS1. The committee's observations reflect the definition of material in IS1. I won't read all the observations here, and I refer listeners to the final agenda decision, but I think it's important to note that an entity's assessment about whether an item of income and expense is material considers both qualitative and quantitative factors. Therefore, an entity's disclosure for each reportable segment of material items of income and expense is not limited to items that are unusual.
It's good to know. And is there a third key takeaway from the committee's discussions?
A third key takeaway is that paragraph 23F of IFRS 8 does not require an entity to disclose by reportable segment each item of income and expense presented in its statement of profit or loss or disclosed in the notes. The committee clarified that point in the final agenda decision because respondents to the tentative agenda decision, the TAD, had raised concerns, specifically that the wording in the TAD could be read as requiring a mini statement of profit or loss for each reportable segment. The committee clarified that an entity applies judgment in determining the information to disclose for each reportable segment.
And can you outline the next steps?
Sure, Bruce. The agenda decision will be discussed by the ISB at its July meeting, and if the ISB does not object, then the agenda decision will be published after that.
Thank you, André. If you want to learn more about how the committee works and why companies need to consider agenda decisions when applying IFRS accounting standards, be sure to watch our new explainer video on the ifrs.org website. Summaries of the committee's meetings can also be found there. As a reminder, you can catch up on previous episodes of this podcast and the monthly IASB podcast on our website, as well as your preferred podcast channels. And we hope you found this podcast informative. With that, we'll sign off until next time. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for our next quarterly update.